Have you ever met someone who just, seems to glide between languages? Like one minute they're deep in French, the next they're on a call in Japanese, and then boom, laughing in Arabic. It's really something.
It is amazing to witness, isn't it? Makes you stop and think.
Totally. And you're left wondering, okay, what is that? What makes someone a polyglot? Is it just some like rare gift they were born with, or is it actually a skill, something anyone could, work towards?
That's a question people have been asking for, well, forever, really.
Hmm.
And it touches on something really fundamental about how we connect, about communication itself.
Right, and that connection piece is key. So today we're doing a deep dive into this whole world of language learning. We're going to look closely at this modern idea of the polyglot and also this other label that's popped up, which is kind of controversial, the fake polyglot.
Mm-hmm.
People making these huge claims about how many languages they speak and then facing some pretty intense scrutiny because of it. Exactly. So our mission here is to explore how this whole definition of a polyglot has shifted over time. From these almost legendary figures way back when to the YouTube stars everyone sees today.
We'll unpack different ways people learn some of these quick hacks you hear about versus the more deep, immersive approaches.
And really, we want to get to the bottom of it. What does it even mean to master a language? Or maybe just to, love learning it? This deep dive, it's designed to give you, our listener, a shortcut to understanding this really complex, fascinating field.
And our main guide for this journey is Jimmy Mello's book, Confessions of a Fake Polyglot. It's a really interesting read because it challenges a lot of what we think we know about language learning.
Okay, so let's get into it. Where should we start? Maybe looking back.
Let's do that. Let's start with some of these enigmatic figures from the past. Before we had standardized tests like the CEFR, that's the common European framework for languages, the A1, B2, C1 levels.
Right.
And definitely before we had instant global communication.
Yeah.
How did anyone even know if these incredible language claims were real?
That's a great question because it's not like you could just, video call someone to check. And maybe the biggest name here is Cardinal Giuseppe Mezzofanti, born in Italy, 1774. People talk about him like he's almost mythical.
Oh, absolutely, Mezzofanti. His reputation was just immense. The story goes he mastered something like 38 languages fluently.
38.
And had a basic grasp of many, many more. The sheer number is just... well, it's staggering. It paints a picture of this unique mind.
But, okay, how did they know? In the 19th century, how did they verify that? It couldn't have just been his word for it, right?
Well, it pretty much was, or at least it relied heavily on anecdotes, personal stories from people who met him. For instance, his biographer, Charles William Russell, wrote this book in 1858, The Life of Cardinal Mezzofanti. And he describes Mezzofanti as having this rarity of excellence when talking to foreigners in their own language. But even Russell admitted it was really hard to confirm these things. He actually compared the claims to miracles attributed to saints.
Huh. So more reputation and stories than hard proof.
Exactly. Not the kind of empirical data we'd look for today. It was about the legend, the personal accounts.
It's fascinating to think about. And apparently Mezzofanti himself didn't leave, a detailed how-to guide, did he? We just have some flashcards, texts.
That's right, just scattered clues. Which leads to that big question. If we could magically bring him here today, test him with modern tools, how would he do?
Yeah, was his knowledge mostly reading and understanding passive knowledge? Or could he actually chat spontaneously, fluently?
Could he, by our standards today, maybe even be called a fake polyglot, just because his skills might not fit our modern, maybe more performative expectations?
It really makes you think about how much the definition of fluency itself has changed.
Undeniably. The standards, the expectations,
Yeah.
they've definitely shifted.
Okay, so moving forward from the almost mythical Mezzofanti, there's a more recent figure who left something more, tangible, right?
Kate Olam.
Yes, Kate Olam, born in Hungary in 1909. She's crucial because she actually gave us insights into her process. She wrote the book Polyglot, How I Learn Languages.
Ah, okay, so not just legends.
Right. Unlike Mezzofanti, she detailed her methods. Things like reading a lot in context, listening to music, and importantly, actually talking with native speakers consistently. She left a kind of roadmap.
So her approach is something we can actually study, maybe even try ourselves. And what's interesting about Lum, you said, is that she admitted her own limits.
Exactly. She wasn't out there claiming perfection in dozens of languages. She focused much more on the journey of learning, the process itself, rather than just racking up a big number, which is, it's a refreshing contrast to some of the claims we hear now.
That focus on process feels more authentic somehow. And it leads us nicely into the modern era, where language skills aren't just talked about, they're publicly tested, sometimes really dramatically. Oh yes, and this is where things get really interesting and sometimes uncomfortable. Let's talk about Ziad Fuzza.
Right, the Guinness Book of Records guy. 1991, man with the most languages spoken, claiming, what was it, 58 languages.
58,
Yeah.
just incredible. He even published books about it like Todas as Linguas do Mundo.
But then things took a turn, didn't they? The famous Viva el Lunes incident.
Infamous, really.
Yeah.
He was on this Venezuelan TV show, Viva el Lunes, and they basically ambushed him with a live test, asked him simple questions in languages like Greek, Hindi, Farsi, Russian, and he couldn't answer them. Basic questions. It was awkward, very public, very humiliating.
Wow. What was his explanation?
He tried to say, maintaining 58 languages is superhuman, and he usually needed a week to review a language like Mandarin before an interview.
That raises a huge question, doesn't it? What happens when learning languages becomes less about connection and understanding and more about putting on a show, a public performance?
That's the crux of it. That incident just threw into sharp relief the difference between using a language practically, day to day, and performing under pressure, on demand.
Yeah.
It showed how validation shifted from just reputation and personal stories to public proof. And sometimes, it turned into a bit of a circus.
A circus. That feels like the right word sometimes. And this whole thing feeds directly into this modern idea, this accusation of the fake polyglot. What does that even mean? Is it just people who lie about their skills?
Or is it maybe people whose skills are genuine but just hard to prove by today's standards, like maybe Mezzofanti again? Could he be caught in that net?
It's complicated. And the internet, especially platforms like YouTube, TikTok, they've really amped up this performance aspect, haven't they?
Totally. It's become this public talent show, like you said, like American Idol, but for languages. The pressure to impress, to entertain, it's immense. It can easily overshadow the actual learning.
Okay, so that sets the stage perfectly. Let's dive into that online world. The circus of YouTube polyglots, illusion versus reality.
Right. Because when you watch these YouTube polyglots, they often seem like, well, almost superhuman.
Yeah, they get millions of views. They show this apparent fluency, switching languages so easily in these slick, short videos. They're charismatic. They seem relatable. It makes you think, wow, I wish I could do that.
And that's often where the illusion comes in. Because behind that polish, those videos are usually heavily edited.
Ah, okay. Cutting out the mistakes?
Cutting out the mistakes, the hesitations, the awkward pauses, everything. It creates this impression of just flawless fluency. Many of them rely on memorized phrases, rehearsed speeches, very controlled situations.
So it looks like deep mastery, but maybe it isn't always.
It can give that illusion, yes.
Yeah.
Because the reality is anyone who's tried knows is that learning language is hard.
Yeah.
It takes ages, tons of effort, patience.
Oh, it's a frustration.
Exactly. And you just can't capture that whole messy, difficult process in a short, dynamic, edited video. It's like only seeing the winning goal, not the thousands of hours of practice and failure that went into it.
That's a great analogy. So the real test isn't a performance, it's spontaneous conversation.
Precisely. The source uses this great analogy from tennis. A tennis player gets better by playing against people slightly better than them.
Right. You need that challenge.
Same with language. Real-time, unpredictable interaction with native speakers is absolutely vital. But it's scary for beginners. And it's not what you usually see authentically shown in those performance videos.
And something else often gets missed, right? The listening part.
Massively overlooked. Speaking looks impressive on camera, obviously, but active listening, what linguists call input, is absolutely fundamental for acquiring a language.
But you can't really show listening in a cool video.
Exactly. It's hard to demonstrate. But it takes hours and hours of constant exposure for your brain to start picking up the patterns, the sounds, the rhythm. Without that deep listening foundation, your speaking ability is actually quite limited.
So true fluency shows up when things get unpredictable, when you have to think on your feet.
That's it. The source gives this example, a pretty complex German question. Welche Funktion haben die Deklinationen in der deutschen Sprache, die zwar für Anfänger herausfordernd erscheinen können, aber tatsächlich einfach sind?
Whoa, okay. My German isn't up to that. What does it mean?
It means, what function do declensions have in German, which can seem challenging for beginners, but are actually simple?
Right. Try answering that spontaneously, no script.
Exactly. That kind of sentence, with its tricky grammar and abstract ideas, immediately shows the difference between performing memorized lines and genuinely understanding and using the language flexibly.
It separates the performers from the truly competent speakers, maybe.
You could say that.
Hmm.
And this extends the circus artist idea. YouTube polyglots, like performers, need to grab attention. Their videos often prioritize looking good over deep substance. It reflects that whole social media thing where appearance often trumps reality.
Now, we should be fair. There are exceptions, right? People doing genuinely good work online. The source mentioned Dmitry Petrov's Russian series.
Yes, absolutely. Exceptions definitely exist, people who manage to blend entertainment with real practical learning. But it's important to make another distinction, too, between polyglots and linguists.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Well, polyglots are generally good at using languages practically, speaking, communicating. Linguists, on the other hand, study the science of language, its structure, history, sounds, how it evolves.
So two different skill sets.
Complementary, but different. A linguist might know everything about Finnish grammar without speaking it fluently. A polyglot might chat away in Mandarin, Arabic, and Russian without deeply analyzing their linguistic structures.
And that relates to teaching too, right? Just because you speak a language doesn't mean you're a good teacher.
Not at all. Teaching needs specific skills. Pedagogy, empathy, knowing how to explain things clearly, that's different from just being fluent yourself.
Okay, so back to the online circus. The source calls it a gladiator arena.
Yeah, like YouTube and TikTok are these digital arenas where linguistic gladiators fight battles of ego and skill. It's this mix of real talent, some clever tricks, and just pure entertainment.
And one of the tricks, or maybe just misleading things, is how they count languages.
Definitely. Inflating the numbers is common. Some people count languages that are mutually intelligible, where speakers can basically understand each other already.
Like Spanish and Portuguese, maybe?
Yeah.
Or dialects?
Exactly. Or grouping Catalan, Valencian, and Occitan, or Serbian and Croatian, Czech and Slovak, or Hindi and Urdu. Counting them all separately makes the total number look bigger, but the source says it subestimates the complexity of what's actually involved in learning distinct languages.
It also connects to that idea of people overestimating their skills, right? Especially if their native language is close to another one.
Yes, the physics of linguistic knowledge, as the source puts it. Someone whose first language is Portuguese might feel pretty confident in Spanish and say, oh, I get by fine, based on that similarity. But getting by isn't the same as actual mastery.
It's like thinking you're a pro swimmer because you can float in the shallow end.
Precisely. And interestingly, the source observes this kind of stagnation too. People who claimed, say, 15 languages 10 years ago, many haven't added new ones. They've become more like theorists, debating online rather than actively learning more.
And what about those polyglot gatherings? Are they like linguistic Comic-Cons?
That's how the source portrays them. Places where people meet up, celebrate languages, but maybe also compete for attention, for likes, for followers.
Which makes you wonder, is it about cultural connection, intellectual passion? Or is it driven by, selling courses, ebooks, getting YouTube views?
It's probably a mix of all those things, realistically. So if the online scene can be so performative, what about the methods that promise fast results? Are they part of the problem, creating fake expectations? Or do they actually have value?
That's the next big question. Because everyone wants a shortcut, right? Let's look at Michael Hawke's quick and dirty guide to learning languages fast.
Hawke's background is key here. He was U.S. Special Forces. His method came from needing practical communication fast in extreme situations.
Like life or death, needing to understand someone.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So his approach is super direct, no frills. Focus only on the absolute essentials for functional understanding, not deep fluency. Forget the nuances, just get the basics down.
Cut the fat, right? Learn core vocabulary, useful phrases, simple patterns. And his promise is functional in 7 days.
Yeah, an audacious promise. Intense daily tasks, greetings, numbers day 1, transport day 2, lots of flashcards, repetition, not complex grammar study.
But he's upfront about the limits.
Yes, explicitly. Great for a short trip, basic survival communication, but massive gaps for long-term learning, culture, idioms. Crucially, though, he says error is part of the process. He pushes you to speak now, mistakes and all. Confidence over perfection.
That's empowering. What about Elizabeth Smith, her instant language series?
Smith is similar in aiming for functional ability, quickly say 6 weeks, not fluency. She targets people put off by traditional methods.
How does she do it?
35 minutes a day. Consistent study, quiet place. And interestingly, she warns against overstudying to avoid burnout.
Smart. And her take on errors.
She embraces them. Committing errors is a natural part of the learning process. Her philosophy: be understood first. Perfection can wait. So she downplays grammar initially, focuses on whole practical phrases you can use immediately. Communication cannot wait.
I like that. Then there's Michelle Thomas. He had a really interesting background, too.
He did. Born in Poland, a Holocaust survivor. His experiences shaped his teaching, focus on resilience, confidence. He taught Hollywood stars, business leaders in L.A.
And his method was different. No grammar drills.
Right. He rejected rote memorization, focused on building confidence, constructing phrases intuitively. His mantra was, there is no failure, only progress. Allow errors, teach in flexible blocks, practice in context, aim for basic communication really fast, hours or days.
But he got criticized for it. Linguists weren't keen.
Some accused him of oversimplification, creating illusory fluency. Learners could build phrases quickly, gain confidence, yes. But critics said they lacked deeper listening skills, couldn't handle truly spontaneous conversation.
So, did his method maybe feed into that fake polyglot idea by focusing so much on quick output?
It's a fair question. But his intention probably wasn't to create masters overnight. It was more about giving people an accessible entry point, especially those scared off by traditional classes. He made it feel possible.
Okay. And, briefly, Margarita Madrigal. Magic key to Spanish.
Madrigal offers a nice balance. Clear grammar explanations, but also useful vocabulary, practical exercises. She uses visuals, associations, making it more engaging, less intimidating. Kind of mixes structure with practice.
Got it. And finally, Mateusz Grisiak. Fast languages. His angle is more psychological.
Very much so. Pragmatic and psychological. His core idea, don't try to learn everything. Focus on what matters. He's big on the 80-20 rule. Learn the most common words, the most useful phrases, the essential grammar.
Get the biggest bang for your buck, basically.
Exactly. And he directly tackles the fear factor, the anxiety about making mistakes. He says, speak, even if you make mistakes. Every mistake is a step towards fluency. He sees fluency as both mental, having the confidence, and technical.
And the author of our source, Jimmy Mello, he used this method.
Yes, to boost his Polish and start learning Hindi. He did daily conversations, listened to music, watched movies to get the rhythm, tackled the new alphabet, Devanagari, as a visual challenge.
And Gresiak talks about cultural bridges.
Yeah, learning those key words that really connect you emotionally and culturally. For Mello, Hindi was tough, especially the script. But Gresiak's approach focuses on celebrating small wins, making it less daunting. It taught Mello that language learning is also about self-discovery, connecting globally.
So looking back at all these quick methods, Hawk, Smith, Thomas, Madrigal, Gresiak, what's the takeaway?
They're valuable, especially for beginners needing functional skills fast. They're usually honest about their limits. They don't promise total fluency, but they offer crucial first steps. They make language learning feel less scary, more accessible. They get you started.
Right. They break down that initial barrier. But learning isn't just methods, is it? There's a whole psychological side, a connection to culture.
Absolutely. It goes much deeper than just memorizing words or rules. Let's get into the psychology and soul of language.
Okay, like the bipartite brain idea. Left brain, right brain.
Exactly. The theory is, roughly, your left hemisphere handles the logical stuff, grammar, structure, analysis. Your right hemisphere is more about creativity, intuition, visual and sound associations, context.
So for language learning, left brain figures out the rules.
Right. It builds the grammatical skeleton. The right brain then helps you remember things through associations, linking a word to an image, a sound, an emotion. It helps you grasp the cultural feel, the natural flow.
So the key is using both sides.
That's the idea. Don't just rely on grammar drills, left brain, or just vague immersion, right brain. Effective learning engages both. Combine logic and intuition.
And we see this in some learning materials.
Definitely. Link word French uses those visual puns, like the annoyed chat for cat. Betty Edwards is drawing on the right side of the brain. Even though it's about art, its ideas about nonlinear thinking apply here too. Visualization, intuitive practice.
Gabriel Weiner's Fluent Forever does this too, right? Spaced repetition plus visuals.
Yes, very effectively. Even titles like Learn Russian in 4 Days sort of imply using both quick analysis and intuitive absorption.
But it's not just about brain tricks, is it?
No, the source stresses that. These insights are powerful, but without consistent effort, even the best mental trick loses its effectiveness. You need to build a personal system that uses both logic and intuition, and then you need to actually do the work.
Right. Effort is key. Now let's talk about Dmitry Petrov again. The Russian TV star Polyglot. He's a huge figure, but controversial.
Yeah, he's a superstar. His TV show Polyglot, his books like The Language of the World, incredibly popular.
And his big promise is basic skills in just 16 hours. makes it look easy, entertaining, especially with celebrities learning alongside.
His talent for simplifying complex grammar is undeniable. It's a major achievement, gets millions excited about learning.
But the controversy, he admits he doesn't actually master all the languages he teaches courses in, like Japanese, Turkish, Hindi.
Correct. He's fluent in about 6, he says, but offers courses in many more. Which raises that ethical question for some people. Should you teach a language if you're not fully fluent yourself?
What's his defense?
He's open about it. His goal isn't mastery in 16 hours. It's to provide a functional base, to unlock potential, so students can then continue on their own. His charisma is huge. He overcomes that initial fear people have.
And this isn't unique to him, right? Our source author, Mello, admitted teaching German before he was fluent.
He did. And he emphasizes the importance of being transparent with students, learning with them. That experience actually led him to create his own successful German method. It proves you don't have to be perfect to teach effectively if you're honest and committed. Teaching can even accelerate your own learning.
That's a really honest take. And Petrov also has a more philosophical view of language.
Yes, especially in the language of the world. He sees language not just as a tool, but as something alive, pulsating, full of energy and meaning, like a fundamental structure connecting cultures, universal thoughts.
He talks about those untranslatable words too, doesn't he? Like little treasures.
Beautifully. Words like saudade in Portuguese, that deep, unique longing.
Yeah, more than just missing something.
Right. Or komorebi in Japanese, sunlight through leaves. Fernweh in German, that ache to travel far away. Ubuntu in Zulu, I am because we are, that communal philosophy. Huzun in Turkish, that collective melancholy of Istanbul.
It's amazing how one word can hold so much culture, so much feeling.
Exactly. They're like windows into entire worldviews. Petrov also talks about language having a vibration, an energy. He contrasts Italian's flowing cadence with German's direct, strong sounds, suggesting they reflect the cultures.
Our author felt his energy change speaking Italian.
Yes. And Petrov connects this to ancient rituals, too, like zikr in the Middle East, where rhythmic chanting transcends literal meaning, creating a spiritual connection through sound itself.
So learning a language isn't just mental, it's almost physical. It changes how you feel, how you see the world.
That's the idea. It forces you to adopt new perspectives. The author felt different, speaking French, more expressive. German made him think more logically, but also introduced him to concepts like Weltschmerz, world weariness, or Heimat, that deep sense of home.
And it preserves culture, too, learning indigenous languages like Quechua.
Absolutely. Words like "any," reciprocity, carry deep cultural values. Learning them helps keep that heritage alive. Language is seen as this living thing, carrying the past, holding hopes for the future.
Wow. So language is way more than just talking. It's connection, transformation, understanding what it means to be human.
Exactly. It moves way beyond grammar and vocabulary into the soul of culture and identity.
Okay, so with all that deeper understanding, let's circle back. How do we redefine authenticity? Can we embrace being a fake polyglot?
It's the big question, isn't it? Who gets to decide what fluency even means? That line between knowing and mastering is just so blurry, so subjective.
And the pressure is different now. Mezzofanti faced, what, a few specific questions from visitors? Today's online polyglots face constant judgment. Every little slip-up gets magnified.
Right. And that's where Jimmy Mello's stance is so interesting. He calls himself a fake polyglot. He says fluency is relative. Maybe he doesn't speak Hindi fluently, but he knows enough to get by. And for him, that's okay. That's what matters to him.
That takes courage to say publicly, and it opens things up, right? Recognizing different kinds of polyglotism beyond just speaking.
Definitely. Think of someone like Paulo Ronai. He mastered tons of languages: Hungarian, French, Latin, Italian, German, English, Spanish, Russian, Portuguese.
Wow.
But mostly through reading, writing, translating. Not necessarily fluent conversation in all of them, but his massive contribution as a translator and writer shows his linguistic competence was absolutely valid.
Or think about opera singers. They can sing perfectly in languages they don't actually speak conversationally.
Exactly. That's a form of phonetic artistic competence. It shows how just immersing yourself in the sounds, the rhythm, repetition, it can create real familiarity, even without full conversational ability.
And then there are the analytical types. The source mentions David Kalifai-Vanda.
Yes, sir. Very honest, fake polyglot confession. I won't ever reach C1 because I am not good at talking. The only reason I keep on learning languages is that I love seeing the grammar structures.
So for her, the joy is in the intellectual puzzle of the grammar itself.
Precisely. It shows verbal fluency isn't the only valid measure. For some, understanding the structure, the skeleton, is the real goal.
So the community is actually really diverse. Fluent speakers, amazing readers, grammar nerds, cultural enthusiasts.
Exactly. It's personal, it's multifaceted. It shouldn't be about ticking boxes or proving yourself to others.
Which brings us to that Ollie Richards quote, which I love. Learning a language is the only thing worth knowing badly.
It's such a powerful idea. It just cuts through that obsession with perfection.
It says making mistakes is okay.
More than okay. It's inevitable, essential, and memorable. Think about those funny mistakes everyone makes, like mixing up embarazada and avergonzado in Spanish.
Right, accidentally saying you're pregnant when you mean embarrassed.
Those moments stick with you. They teach you more than getting it right sometimes. They're proof you're learning, you're trying.
So success isn't perfection, it's just trying, connecting.
Richards argues that, yeah, communication is often more important than perfect grammar. And he really slams those learn Russian in 30 days promises. He calls them flagrant lies that just set people up for failure and demotivation.
Because you inevitably won't be fluent in 30 days.
Right. He says learning takes humility, courage. And embracing knowing it badly is just a necessary part of growing. You have to be willing to sound silly sometimes.
Like Frederico, the goat shepherd in the source,
Oh.
with his Cabré goat language.
That's such a beautiful story. He intuitively used repetition, context, output, calling his goats in English, stop, stop now. Just pure communication, no fear of mistakes.
It's like the natural method in action.
Totally. The lesson being, learning a language is like herding a flock. You don't control every movement, but you guide the flow. Patience, adaptation, gentle effort.
So how does the author, Mello, wrap this all up? He embraces the fake polyglot label himself.
He does. He talks about being called that after his YouTube channel got suspended. But he saw the feedback as a learning chance, not proof he was a failure. He realized the kind of performative fluency people expected wasn't his goal anyway.
He misses the old days of the polyglot community before the circus.
He seems to. He mentions names like Richard Simcott, Benny Lewis, Steve Kaufman, that earlier, perhaps more niche community of passionate learners, contrasting it with today's focus on performance and comparison.
And he argues against just collecting languages, like counting Czech and Polish separately just to boost numbers.
Yeah, he says abandon those unnecessary borders. Focus on human connections, building linguistic and cultural bridges. He admits again he doesn't speak Hindi fluently, but knows enough to get by. His teaching materials for languages like Tartar, they're based on his teaching knowledge, not a claim of native fluency in Tartar.
So the real point isn't the number.
Not at all. It's not about accumulating languages like collection items. Avoid being a language hoarder. It's about using languages to connect, understand others, enrich your own life. Keep the curiosity, the passion.
Language learning is deeply illogical, he says. No magic formula.
Right. Each language is an adventure. And the ultimate truth, repeated again and again, what really matters is not how many languages you speak, but what you do with them.
Connection, learning, discovery.
That's the heart of it. He even says languages have been his best antidepressant, a source of endless fascination.
Okay, so we've really covered a lot of ground here, from historical legends to YouTube spectacles, quick methods to deep philosophy.
We've seen how fluency is debated, how learning happens in diverse ways.
And the core message seems to be, it's not about perfection or numbers, it's about connection, empathy, opening up to new ways of seeing things.
Embracing the process, celebrating small wins, even learning from the mistakes.
So that final thought, if learning a language is the only thing worth knowing badly, maybe we should ask, what else are we avoiding just because we're scared of not being perfect?
That's a powerful question. Perhaps the best fluency isn't perfect grammar, but just that ability to connect, even imperfectly. Knowing the journey itself is the real reward.